What's up, everybody? Welcome to The Wire. It is Wednesday. I hope you enjoyed the H2G podcast. We are down a couple of guys. Everybody's okay. They're just taking a little time off. We are here with Sahe, Marvin, and myself. We're going to talk some sports. Fellas, real quick, how you doing?
Doing good, man. Excited for this Super Bowl.
Yeah.
When I know Sahe's ready, been waiting a long time for this, man.
He's already there. He's been there since last week.
I don't think fans want it more than the Bucks fans, or more than Sahe.
Oh my goodness! It's been so long. I still can't believe it. Like, I can't believe there's a Super Bowl playing next week and the Buccaneers are actually in it. What?
Well, we're definitely gonna cover that today. We're gonna talk Super Bowl for sure when we get into the NFL here in a little bit. Sahe, I hope someone's bringing you. Is someone bringing you drinks and food while you're out there? I mean, that's a lot of waiting for a seat, but it looks like you're still the only one in the house.
Yeah, we taking it out to a game day.
The whole.
I'm not eating the whole
place
time.
rented out. Got the place rented out. You gotta rent out the place.
All right, so guys, we're gonna talk NBA. We'll talk NFL, but first, I think we can't ignore Conor McGregor. He did have a fight this past week, and he did lose that fight to Mr. Dustin Poirier, TKO in the second round. I know I messed the name up. There's a lot to talk about here. I do have some stats, but we'll get to that in a second. Sahe, Marvin, I just want to know what's your take on the fight in general. The fact that he lost in the second round by TKO of all things, the man he lost to, and then we'll get into some more specifics. Sahe, what do you think?
Well, before the fight, I thought McGregor was going to come in there and rough him up, get him out of there quick. But Poirier had other plans. He looked focused. He looked sharp. He did what he had to do. But I think it comes down to McGregor being out of the game for a while. He wanted to fight last year a lot. Didn't really get the opportunity. Kind of got sprung on him here early in the year 2021. So I think like the Conor McGregor experience got rushed for this year, and he was a little rusty. He was going up too high level of competition for coming back. I don't remember his last fight. I think he fought Cowboy Cerrone shoulder strike match. That was a minute ago. So I think he just needs to keep at it. And it was good I feel like the loss was good for him. He needed it. Everybody needs a good ass kicking every now and again to refocus you. You know what I'm saying? Give you something to fight for coming up. And we'll see how it goes. We'll see.
You know, I hate to remind you of this because it depressed me when it happened, but you know, complacency, that's where I'm going to blame it. I'm going to say he's complacent. I'm going to say he's cocky. I'm going to say he's not focused. And there's another man that this happened to, and you don't always bounce back from it, do you, Anderson? So I don't think that he needed to have his mind anywhere but this ring, and I don't think it was there. Marvin, what are your thoughts?
I agree. There's really no other way around it. McGregor, he came into this fight rusty. You know, like Sahe said, he hasn't been in the game for a while. But on top of that, I mean, his attitude it's just been just defeating. You know, because he can't. You know, he just talks so much, and like he has backed it up over time. But he just couldn't do it being out of the game for so long. And I just don't think his mind was focused on this fight. I really think that his mind was focused on Khabib. I don't know if y'all think the same way, but I just don't think his head was in this fight. I think he was looking ahead and didn't take Poirier seriously. Like he said, going into the fight, it was going to be easy, but I ain't see nothing, easy about that fight for Conor McGregor other than he just was ill-equipped. He looked to me undersized. It looked like he had just lost a lot of weight from the previous fight and then get it back up. It just didn't look like the Conor McGregor that we all know. He just didn't look dominant. And I don't think that a super fight right now is in the best interest, of Conor McGregor facing Khabib. Because like everybody, gets their ass kicked. Everybody could take an L, but I honestly expected more from Conor McGregor in this fight, past the second round. Especially after winning against Cowboy Cerrone, even though that was a long time ago. But if you got your mind set on Khabib, if the target's on Khabib's chest, then you got to prove it. And we didn't see that.
You got to be ready for him. And the fact of the matter is, he was inaccurate, guys. Dustin Poirier was 48 for 91. Not the greatest, 52%. He had a knockdown. He was 53 out of 98 strikes, right? McGregor's right there, 52 out of 92 total strikes. That's between, hands and feet. The control time, Dustin Poirier had 1 minute and 42. McGregor had a minute. McGregor was 29 for 66. He was 43% striking. He was not Conor McGregor, period. He just wasn't. And then after the fight, to your point, Marvin, after the fight, of course, Twitter is going to erupt, right? Why wouldn't it? Because McGregor is who he is, what he's done. We've talked about this in the past. When you come out like Kyrie Irving, when you come out to the public and put your whole business out there and want to be this guy, it's going to come back to you. Khabib says, this is what happened. When you changed your team, leaving the sparring partners who made you a champion and sparring with little kids far away from reality. He's not pulling punches because he is the baddest man right now. He's 30-0 or 29-0. I'm sorry. And he's proven himself time and time again. And McGregor just lost. The records themselves. McGregor 22-5 now after that. This puts Dustin Poirier at 27-6. Let's put Dustin again.
Losses are mounting up.
Yeah, let Dustin
Losses
start.
are adding up. I don't know how great you can really be if you just keep losing. We got to get to that point. We're having that conversation. Like, Conor has to get to that point of realization. Like, dude, you might not be as great as you say you are if you keep losing, especially against Khabib. Because to me, you can't beat Khabib. I'm gonna say that on the show. I don't think you can beat him. I think he's the best in the game, even being retired. That dude's a dangerous man.
Sahe, does he deserve a super fight right now? He's earned what he's earned. He's brought the UFC tons of money. We know there's politics in this. Does he deserve the opportunity?
Does he deserve it? Probably not. But he still is Conor McGregor. He has the name. So, you know what I'm saying? That's what the UFC's in it for. They're in to sell fights. So Conor McGregor is going to put butts in the seats and he's going to grab pay-per-view buys. So he'll probably, I don't like it for him, but he's the big money guy. I don't think he's out here trying to be the greatest fighter ever. I think he was before he fought Floyd Mayweather, but he got a taste of that boxing money. And that elevated his stars so high that it's just like, hey, baby, I'm making all the money. You know what I'm saying? Showtime McGregor. I think that's what he's really about. He's gonna talk. He's gonna talk the game. He's gonna. It's kind of like mixing wrestling WWE into the UFC. Like Conor McGregor is going to be a hero all day. He's gonna talk it up and try to sell fights and make as much money as he can. So does he deserve it? Again, no. But he's going to get another super fight here soon. And build him back up.
And Marvin, one last quick take. We're moving on to the NBA. He did respond, and essentially what he said was everyone wants to see it, and he's kind of directing it like Khabib's trying to dodge him. Is that what's going on?
No. Conor wants to fight. He wants this fight. He wants to redeem himself after that last loss. But Khabib, when the ball's in your court and when you're the champ, you finish out on top and you want to retire. It's ultimately up to him. But I think Khabib, if he's poked enough, he'll come back and he'll do this fight. And like you said, Sahe, it's a money grab. I mean, Conor is one of the biggest names in the UFC. He's entertaining as fuck. We love to hear him talk. We love to hear him talk shit. That's what we love. That's what we love Conor McGregor for. That's what we know him for. We just want him to back it up in the octagon. That's all.
Mhm.
If you're gonna do all that, because I would love to see him. I mean, I feel he's a legend already. He is a legend of the game. But I just want him to stay at that top spot and not somebody, to pass him up. If I sound biased, okay, but I would want to see this fight happen. But I mean, Dana White got to do something to make this happen. Well, but these guys aren't running. They aren't running. Because Khabib he ain't running from nobody.
I would run from Khabib, that's for sure. Okay, let's move on. We're gonna talk some NBA here. Before we get into the meaty stuff, first and foremost, Bradley Beal, right? 2-year contract with the Wizards is almost up. He's got the player option for next year. My question is pretty simple and quick. Has he been stunted by the Wizards? We talked about Stafford being held back by the Lions in the NFL. Has Beal been held back by the Wizards? Because right now, guys, he looks like the best shooter in the league, right? 34.7. I mean, that's an average that puts you in the top of the conversation. What's the move? What's the move, Marvin?
Bradley Beal put himself in this position. But I can't put it all on Bradley Beal. There is a culture in Washington that is just contagious with losing. This franchise is from the top down. I don't know what has happened. It just contributes to the East being bad for so years. You see the East improving now with the Bucks, the Heat, the Nets, the Celtics. But Washington has always been that complacent franchise that just hasn't been able to give the fans or the people that, watch the Wizards games regularly from home any kind of hope, that they're going to be a great team. And so I'd have to say that it starts with the culture, and they haven't done right by Bradley Beal or John Wall for that matter. Even when John Wall was hurt for 2 years, they still didn't try to build around him. But I would say that, that they got to do something. They got to, Bradley Beal has got to go. You can't be one of the best shooters in the league or one of the worst teams. But also, it's going to be tough to move him, because you're going to have to pretty much do what the Nets did with their team, is clear a bunch of room to get him. So how do you interrupt a team that's already a championship contender, like, for example, the Clippers, to bring a Bradley Beal on a team? You'd have to pretty much get rid of almost half your assets, minus Kawhi and Paul George. But we all want to see Bradley Beal get out of there. Now, nobody wants to see him in Washington. Nobody's broadcasting any Wizards games anytime soon. So, no, you don't get to see Bradley Beal put up these stellar numbers because nobody's showing the Wizards. So, I mean, the NBA has got to do everybody a favor, get him on a team where everyone can watch, where the fans can watch him, where he can actually enjoy playing basketball again. But, that's what a lot of these young guys do in the league. They sign these extensions and they don't think priorhand, should I think before signing this, or should I go play for a championship contender? That's just, it's a new day and age. These ballers want their money. You can't fault them for that. But, he's in this position now. You're stuck on one of the worst team in the NBA when you could be contending for a championship. So I think Bradley Beal has got to get himself out, but I don't know how.
Sahe, do you have a home for him? Do you know where he would possibly fit in?
I haven't really put a lot of thought into where Bradley Beal would go. But if I would see him somewhere, I would like to match him up with Devin Booker, maybe in the Phoenix Suns, maybe with Embiid and the Sixers. He's got some places to go. Maybe if Antetokounmpo stays with the Milwaukee Bucks, pairing him up there, giving him somebody that can shoot the ball, something that they don't have right now, that would be great for them. Maybe get Middleton out of there, ship him to Washington. But I just wanted to say, for your point earlier, I would say like the Wizards made Bradley Beal. We wouldn't be talking about him if he wasn't on a sorry team, because he had to build himself up. You know what I'm saying, and learn those growing pains. Because we weren't talking about Bradley Beal when he was coming into the league. You know what I'm saying? So, only person excited about Bradley Beal coming into the league was his mama. So, so the Wizards really, I feel like, gave him that fuel to go out there every night and be like, "Hey, we're gonna lose, but I'm gonna work on my game and I'm gonna get better." And now the fruits of the league is for him to grab.
Yeah, Sahe, you right, man. I mean, I could have swore Bradley Beal was still playing for the Florida Gators. because because it took a while for him to build himself up, and him playing on such a bad team, you miss those days where he was the guy. I mean, he's the guy, but you just don't know it because, I mean, Russ is there. So, like, any team Russ is on, it's like it overshadows, like, the best player on the team.
Right.
Right. I'm like, man, it's not supposed to be Russ, Bradley Beal.
Right.
Speaking of trades, I think we got to talk about the Nets, guys. I think we got to talk about their longevity, about whether or not this is going to work in the playoffs, so about whether or not this is going to work at all. Because right now, what I'm seeing a powerhouse trio offense barely squeezing by low ball East teams. I'm seeing no defense whatsoever is what I'm seeing. I don't think they have any defense, strong powerhouse at all. And they got the trade deadline coming up, and they just made this huge trade. And we talked about also the back seat and who was going to take it. I don't think any of us thought that KD would be the one, kind of, not that he's on a back seat totally. What'd you say, Marvin? 27-4?
27-5 and 8.
27-5 and 8. Okay, so I mean, but still, to have Kyrie leading the points, have KD kind of on the back burner, and absolutely no defense, I'm not giving them a shot in the playoffs. I just wanted to bring that to the table and see what you guys think. Sahe.
Well, I think it's still too early to tell. Even though it is highly concerning that they're losing games in the fashion that they're losing, not able to play adequate enough defense to hold their opponents, to let their offense shine, because I feel like once they get it together, they could score with anybody, but they got to have something in the middle. I think they were talking about signing Andre Drummond. I've seen something on Facebook, and Iman Shumpert, he's good on defense. So they could be trying to shore some things up. But it's too early to tell. Playoff-wise, if it was in the finals of the Lakers and the Nets, I'm picking the Lakers right now.
I see smoke coming out of New York City right now. What's going on, Marvin?
Oh, I mean, we were doing good, Sahe, till you said Iman Shumpert used to be good at defense. Used to be good. Used to be a good defender. But Iman Shumpert is a shell of himself now. I don't know what they're going to get out of him. So that was a questionable pick. But
I was giving him the benefit of the doubt.
I mean, you got to. I mean, because you have to add pieces now for what they got rid of. Like, it's hard to replace a Jared Allen. It's hard to replace your interior defense. And they don't have that right now. So when you look at the Nets right now as a whole, they are a potent scoring team. Like, they got a big three, like legit. But when you look at that big three and you carefully examine it, those dudes, one of them, like you said, is going to take a back seat. But they all seem to be taking a back seat on defense. right now because they can all put up 30 points apiece, but they'll let someone else on the other end do that too, because they literally can't stop it. So I really don't say that they're going to, they're going to come up short in the playoffs. It's too early to tell, but I would say we should be a little alarmed as to how they're playing defense and their approach, because when you listen to Kyrie after the game, he's like, I couldn't guard a parked car. There's plenty of games where Kyrie can't guard a parked car. I don't know if this is the first game where he's realized it, but he doesn't play defense. James Harden doesn't play defense. KD has got the benefit of genetics. He's just a 7-foot dude with a 7-foot wingspan that if he's in front of you, he's tossing your shot or he's stealing it. So he easily out there can play defense and actually deceive you because he's just that good. But the other two, and you got if you've got a kind of an almost an older DeAndre Jordan, he's not playing defense the way he used to. So they're just a defensive liability at this point. And if you got plenty of time now in between the playoffs, I think a lot of teams in the East are going to scope in on that.
So is it possible that that's why KD's not on the point, like not driving the offense? Is it because he's their only prayer when it comes to defense?
Yep, one ball. That's all they can do. I mean, they're getting the ball to each other well. They're actually moving the basketball very well amongst the three of them. But when you look at, their defensive scheme, they don't have a defensive-minded coaching staff. When you look at that coaching staff, it's almost laughable, y'all. They got Dan Toney down there. Take the D out for D because he doesn't care about defense. he just wants his stars to come run and gun, just run up the court and just shoot. That's all he care about, and that's all he told Steve Nash to do. So when he was playing for him, so this is basically the Phoenix Suns of the early 2000s and the mid 2010s that we're seeing right now. Just a great offensive team, but a complete defensive liability. And that's why they lost to the Cavs twice.
Now, I like I said, I don't know about longevity. I don't know that this team like this, if they need to take advantage of the trade deadline, in my opinion. Otherwise, there's no playoff hope. I don't think. Because you got teams like Los Angeles. Los Angeles right now, they look like they're going to do it again. I know it's too early to call it, but to me, they're looking smooth. This is my question to all you guys about Los Angeles with the season that they're having so far, with the way they handled the championship last season. Who's under the most pressure to knock them off? I mean, who would you like to see, and who do you think needs to knock off the Lakers? Marvin.
I'm gonna try not to be biased here. I gotta be right down the middle.
It's a tough one.
This is the wire, so I gotta walk the wire, right? I gotta walk.
Absolutely.
I gotta walk it. It's a straight line. I'll say the LA Clippers. I would say, based off what happened to them last year, so heartbreaking. Hate to hear that. But they're the ones that need to prove themselves the most, particularly out of the Western Conference. They lost a 3-1 lead to the Denver Nuggets. If there's anyone that needs to prove themselves in the postseason, it's the LA Clippers. They have the biggest they have the biggest obstacle to overcome, and it's not the Lakers, it's themselves. They got Paul George still. And Paul George is a regular season highlight. We all know this. Paul George is a great player. But can we see this in the playoffs? Because I'm tired of seeing this year in and year out. Paul George plays spectacular in the regular season. He gives you it all, his all. He's almost damn near an MVP candidate. But when it gets to April, when it gets to May, he just, right around his birthday, he just disappears. He just does not show up. So he's got a lot to prove. And Kawhi Leonard, the silent, AKA the silent treatment, giving his team, not talking to teammates, staying in different cities other than what the team is staying in. I think he's gotten past that point. I don't know who has spoke to him. Somebody must have cussed him out. I don't know what happened. But I think that, he's got to be the one that steps up ultimately. And if he wants to get the Clippers over the hump. They did a good job adding Serge Ibaka. They didn't do anything about the point guard situation. They still had Pat Beverly, but I call him Baby Draymond because all he does is he's out there just talking and running around and trying to play defense. I just think that they are the ones that need to prove themselves the most. Like they have to prove that they are not chokers. Because a young team can come out of nowhere and do exactly what the Nuggets did to them, and they'll be out.
Sahe, what do you think, man? Who needs to prove themselves? Who needs to knock the Lakers off? Because right now, the way it's looking, and I know you feel like the playoffs are further down the road than everybody's talking about, but they're looking hot, man.
Yeah, the Lakers are looking good for sure. The Clippers, I agree with you, Marvin. They need to at least, make the Western Conference Finals or find the Lakers somewhere in the playoffs. They need to battle them. That's what I was ready for all season, all bubble. I'm like, oh yeah, they got the bubble going. Let's go. Lakers and Clippers. I already had them going to the Western Conference Finals playing each other. And then the Clippers didn't show up against the Denver Nuggets. It's just like, great. This is awesome. Playoff P is terrible. And he's terrible every time. But I'm going to switch gears and go with Giannis Antetokounmpo has the most to prove in the playoffs. Did he win MVP 2 times? 2-time MVP, and he's gone out. How many playoff series has he won? I don't know. He needs to do something. Win a playoff series MVP. You're the most valuable player. Win a playoff series, please. For me. That's all I got to say on that.
Oh man, Marvin. Anything else on the NBA? Anything that we talked about?
Nah, those are two guys that need to step up the most. I couldn't agree more. Giannis and Kawhi Leonard.
All right. You guys heard it here. We're going to talk NFL and the Super Bowl, baby. When we come back, you're watching The Wire. Don't go anywhere.
What?
Hey there, it's Justo from the H2G podcast.
Hello there.
Are you ready for season 4?
Yeah.
I love the way it sounds.
Gotta get my meat wad voice ready.
This season will be bigger and better than ever.
But thank you, man. I'll take it. It's good to see you.
Catch the H2G podcast season 4, Monday through Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern on Facebook and YouTube.
Oh, the best part of my week.
And don't miss The Wire every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
It's been a long time coming.
We'll see y'all next week.
Welcome
Welcome
to the H2G
to the H2G
To the H2G
podcast.
We'll see you there. All right, folks, welcome back to The Wire. It is time to talk NFL. And fellas, first things first, I think we need to touch on something we talked about last week because Matt Stafford has now been traded. He was traded to the LA Rams for Jared Goff. And, I just want to say we've already kind of discussed whether or not we've discussed his playability, right? So we don't need to talk about that. What I'd like to talk about is, was this a good trade? Is this going to be a good fit for Matt Stafford? Sahe, why don't you take the horn on this one?
I think it'll be all right. They got a guy that's going to be better. I'm talking about the Rams. They got a guy that's going to be make better decisions, I guess I would say, and he's going to make better decisions, and he's going to fire the ball. He's not going to be afraid to throw the ball in the tight spots. A lot of what McVay had to do was scheme guys open for Goff to be comfortable enough to throw the ball. So I think that's going to go well with their offense. They got good speed. It does suck for Jared Goff. You got to go to Detroit. That's the only person that I'm sad about in this whole thing. And the Rams, I feel like they gave up a little bit too much for Stafford. But if it works out, it could turn out to be worth it if they could make some NFC Championship games, possibly hit a Super Bowl in the next 4 years. It'll be worth it, but we'll see. We'll see. But I think to say there's a clear-cut winner, I guess I would say the Rams won the trade just because they got a better quarterback and he's going to be immediately available now. But whatever the Lions decide to do with those picks is going to come in handy. You know what I'm saying? It's going to be wonders. So if they can get some good talent in there, so Goff, they can do some things.
So, Marvin, my question for you, because you specifically talked about Matt Stafford's he's very injury prone. Sure, he's ready now. But like Sahe just pointed out, the Rams didn't necessarily give away the farm, but they gave away some of it, right? They gave away part of the fields. What do you think, Marvin? Was it a good trade?
Yeah, I think it was a good trade. You had to get rid of Jared Goff. Jared Goff is yesterday's hot pile of garbage. He played like absolute trash this year. Played like trash in the regular season. Played like trash in the postseason. Was reluctant to get there. It's not fair to Aaron Donald and Jalen Ramsey and the rest of the defense that the offense wasn't held to the same standard as the defense. So the Rams had to nip this thing in the bud. You had to get a guy that, like I did say last week, I gave Matt Stafford a good chopping up, a good well-deserved chopping up. But I think this is a shot at redemption, on a new team with a better offensive line. You got better weapons than he did in Detroit. You got Cooper Kupp. You got Robert Woods. You got Tyler Higbee. You got Cam Akers. You still got a great defense, a better defense than he ever had in Detroit. So they got the perfect game manager for the schemes that Sean McVay wants to run. And so you're going to see, you're not going to see the Rams go anywhere. They're still going to be a strong team. You got a quarterback that can push the ball down the field now. Jared Goff was holding on to the ball back there like the Statue of Liberty, just stood there in the pocket and just taking hits all season long. So they had to get rid of him. And on the flip side, Detroit, they get Jared Goff. They get a guy that is coming off one of his worst years statistically, but you get a guy that's been to the Super Bowl. You got a guy that has experience. So if you're Detroit, this is not an opportunity where you look at the situation and you fold. You look at your picks and you think, okay, if we have some losing seasons, we got these picks to utilize. But between the two, Lions and the Rams, I say the Rams won this trade, hands down. They got a better quarterback, got a better game manager.
Absolutely. Well, we're going to talk Super Bowl, but just a little tip before we go into the Super Bowl. It's relevant. It's super relevant. My little question for you guys. It's a two-parter. What did Tom Brady prove by making it to the Super Bowl without Bill Belichick? And what did Belichick prove by having the season he had without Tom Brady? Sahe.
Tom Brady proved once and for all that he's the greatest of all time. That's what he proved. He went out there to a new team, no off season, no OTAs, COVID restriction. There's COVID restriction and what does he do? He goes to another Super Bowl like it's nothing. Like it's Tom Brady. The only reason why I'm excited to see Tom Brady in another Super Bowl is because he's with my team. If I was any other team, I'd be like, man, this is damn Brady. Let somebody else have it. But he proved he's the greatest of all time. Bill Belichick, it's harder to say that, like, oh, without Brady, he's nothing, because he had so many defensive players opt out. He had to settle for Cam Newton at quarterback, and he was splitting time. Cam Newton and Jared Stidham, whoever that guy is, they were splitting time. So he had a huge obstacle. It's fantastic that they won 7 games, or they won any games for that matter. But if the stars align and Brady's able to win this Super Bowl, and wherever Bill's watching it, there's going to be somebody that doesn't like football, and they're going to catch the score, and Brady's going to be winning, and they're going to be like, they'll see the name on the back is going to say Brady, and they're going to be like, hey, that's Bill's boy. And it's going to make Bill Belichick proud. So it's been a great year for Brady, and Bill Belichick, he'll rise again.
Marvin, in lieu of, in addition to being the greatest of all time, because I saw you shake your head, and we can't argue it on this podcast. If we had the other two guys, I don't think we could argue Tom Brady as the GOAT. Aside from that, what else has Tom Brady proven this year by doing what he's done and brought it to the Super Bowl? And then the same question about Bill Belichick. What did he prove this year? Reacting to everything that Sahe mentioned with the defensive troubles and Cam Newton and all that.
I think Tom Brady, just sums it up. He proved that if you put him on a team where you give him weapons, a solid receiving core and a run game and a defense, he could take you to the Super Bowl at age 50. That's just what this man can do. It's just unprecedented. We've never seen nothing like this. This man's been playing since I was 10 years old. 10. I am 30 years old. I am sitting here on this wire. This man has been playing for 20 plus years. And you know what happened 20 plus years ago? He was in the Super Bowl. He was in the Super Bowl. And I was saying we won the Super Bowl. It's crazy. So it's exciting to see him back, especially with a team that hasn't won since 2002. And that 2002 Bucs team was one of the greatest Bucs teams I had seen, because in the 90s, Sahe, I loved the Bucs, especially when they had Warren Sapp, John Lynch, Sean King, Mike Allstott, Warwick Dunn. They were stacked. Keyshawn Johnson. The list goes on. That was one of the most stacked Bucs teams in NFL history. And so now that Tom Brady is taking them back to the Super Bowl, he's just further proved that, we just can't mince words. He's the GOAT. He's just a flat out GOAT. And on the flip side, Bill Belichick proved that he's vulnerable. He's mortal without the GOAT in his corner. They showed that they sold out when they cashed out for all those Super Bowls, those 6 Super Bowls. They sold out. They really bet the farm. And it goes to show that, being absent of weapons, especially a no receiving core, no running game, a depleted defense, you can't win. You can't win regular season games, let alone a postseason and win a Super Bowl. But I don't think it was reflective on Bill Belichick as a coach. That man is a legend. He's won 6 Super Bowls. What he's done off the field this past year I've been impressed with. Especially with him standing behind the players, with his own players, the Black Lives Matter movement. I really appreciated that. But I think that it just goes to show that he needed to appreciate Tom Brady more. And that's something that Bill Belichick didn't do those latter years, was really appreciate what he had. I think that if Tom Brady wins this Super Bowl and he's hoisting that Lombardi trophy, Bill Belichick's going to be sitting somewhere thinking, man, if I had just got him some help other than Jacoby Myers, if I had just got rid of Julian Edelman, if I didn't hang on one more year, I might be looking at 7 Super Bowls, but that's not the case. Now we get to see Brady versus Mahomes. And I tell y'all right now, if Mahomes loses to Brady, not the GOAT. can't be in the process of being the GOAT if you lose to the GOAT. That's how it is. That's how it goes. It's like facing Michael Jordan right now. You know?
All right. Well, I mean, we are not going to have another show, I don't think, before this happens, fellas. So the question is, and we're missing two. We'll see if we can get an off-air vote for them and put it somewhere on H2G. We got to talk about it. Who is it? Is it the Kansas City Chiefs or is it the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? I'll start because I haven't had much of an opinion today. I've been kind of reading some questions. I think it's still Kansas City. I'm sorry. This sounds like a great story. Tom Brady is, I will say, the GOAT. It pains me to say it, but he is the GOAT. I've been saying it all year about everybody. It's not enough. It's not enough. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I don't think it's enough for the powerhouse that is Kansas City, the powerhouse that is Patrick Mahomes and anybody who's got a chance of catching the ball, because he's going to put it there. He's going to put it there, and if he can't, he's going to get it to where it needs to go by his damn self. I think it's a tall order to say that the Bucs do it this year, and I'm going to have to say Kansas City bringing it home for the AFC in the Super Bowl. Who wants to go next? I'll just leave it open.
Well, we already know what Sahe gonna say. We already know where he's going right now. So I'm gonna get mine in real quick. Man, I wrestled with this all week, y'all. I really did. You know, I went back and forth, but I finally made a decision, and it's unbiased. I'm gonna have to go with. I know better. I can't do it. I can't bet on him. I can't bet against him. I'm going with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers will be the new world champions come Super Bowl Sunday. Antonio Brown will get his first Super Bowl ring. Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, that whole squad, they're getting their first rings.
Man, all right, Sahe, who do you got?
Man, you guys know me. I'm a Bucs fan. I've been a fan for life. But Patrick Mahomes and Kelsey and Hill, they some bad boys. And man, it pains me to say it. But I'm picking the Kansas City Chiefs to get their fucking ass whooped this Sunday in the Super Bowl. Tom Brady, let's go! Let's go!
I love it.
Let's go!
I love it.
Oh my God. I was about to fall out of my chair.
I was like, no, we didn't. No, we didn't. Not on this show. No, we didn't.
Oh man. Well, you heard it here, folks. I hope you enjoyed The Wire. It's a little bit shorter this week. We will be back tomorrow for the H2G podcast at 7 p.m. and The Wire every Wednesday, baby, at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thanks for watching. You guys have a good week.